Hi, welcome to Great Goodness. I'm so excited to be here today with my partner, Karen Stewart.
Hello.
And I'm ultra excited that Annie Woodford is here with us. And Annie,
Wow.
so I'm in Patrick County, Virginia, and this is an area that is part of what Annie writes about. She's from Henry County, and we blend together a bit. And so Annie and what she writes about is super close to my heart. And she's in Henry County right now. And so we're almost together. And I just think this is really exciting. So thank you for being here,
Oh,
Annie.
yeah, thank you so much. I'm
Um,
excited to be part of this.
please like and comment and subscribe. And if you create something in response to what you hear Annie talking about today, share
Mm.
that and share that with me, share that with Karen, get it to us so that we can share it. We want to show that conversation that
Yeah.
uh, creators have with each other, and it's really beautiful the way we build off of each other. So we want to be sure we're sharing that. Definitely subscribe so you don't miss people who are coming up too, because it's just been really fabulous. It's been a
Mm.
fabulous series.
Yeah.
Been really moving. And so, okay, Karen,
Yes.
oracle
Angie,
us. Oracle
we're
us.
we're gonna do yes, we're gonna do an
Yeah.
oracle card. And Angie, we're missing the top of your head
I know
with
because my
the in the
forehead's
Zoom
so
window.
big. I had that
It's not
done.
that.
I had that done on purpose.
No, well, you look well. I just wanted to mention it. It's fine either way. I don't think you have a big forehead. This is crazy. Okay, so we're gonna pull an oracle card. So I don't know why I always shuffle them again when I'm talking. I don't know why I've been shuffling them for probably 10 minutes this
Mm.
morning.
Oh,
wow. But so today we are gonna I can't get away from this deck. I love it so much. So we're gonna be pulling from the Dream Song Oracle deck.
Love
Yeah,
it.
isn't that a nice box it comes in? And this deck is it's published by US Games, so when y'all fall in love with it, feel free to reach out to them and get you one. Um, it's written by Angie Sullins, and the artwork is by Marta Orlowski. And it comes with this lovely book that has a full color photo of each of the cards and then the author's take on the card. Oh, wow. So, which is really good that that's in there because we're not going to be referring to the author's description or take on the card. So, what we're going to do is just kind of, you know, open ourselves up to whatever is going to come to us after we look at whatever card I'm going to pull. And it's just a nice way to get some cool energy going and just, I don't know, see what happens. This is what the back of the deck looks like.
I love it. It's so
Oh, that's
beautiful.
gorgeous. Right, the fox looking at the fox. No, okay, so here comes our card. All right, today we are going to be dealing with, and I'm going to look at it real quick. Oh, I believe we may have seen this card before. It's card 23, Fly the Wings of Worthiness. Mhm. Have we seen that one before, Angie?
I've I
I
can't
may have.
place which show, but
Well, I'm
I
pulling
don't
these cards for
know.
myself all the time, so I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, happy to see this card.
it's
So,
beautiful. I do feel like
right.
it's familiar. Yeah.
Well, being the nut for the moon that I am so drawn to that beautiful grin of a moon up there, a bright, shining sliver of moon. Yeah, that's gorgeous. What isn't the moon? The moon will be full. The
June
moon
11th.
is
Yep.
waxing. Yeah, yeah, we're
Yeah.
working toward it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this gal. I love this expression yeah. on her face. Right? I mean, she just looks to
Mischievous.
me like, yes, and like she's owning her ownership of herself, I think.
Yeah.
I think she's feeling the worthiness, right?
I th yeah, of her. I feel like she's wild, and I feel like she feels her wildness is worthy. And like,
Yeah, right. So she's got
yeah.
all the wild leaves imprinted on her too, right? Like she
Hmm.
is just, yeah, she's got it going on. She's owning it. And the bird, oh
Hmm.
gosh.
And I
That's
feel
great.
like, oh, sorry, Annie, go ahead.
Oh no, that's what a beautiful card.
I was gonna say letting that bird go, like to me it symbolizes like freedom and
Hmm.
what
Yeah,
freedom there is in knowing your own worthiness or like believe like holding that space
Yeah.
for
mhm,
yourself that that you are beautiful, wild, perfect, magical,
yeah,
stupendous, just how you are.
yeah.
And
Yeah. I thought a lot
And
about
you,
how,
yeah.
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, go Annie.
No, just about how bad self-esteem like expresses itself in really toxic ways throughout your life. That it really, I think that that is literally a, a a tragic flaw in my family lineage
mhm,
Mm,
that has led to a lot of heartbreak. And it's interesting to see people I feel like who remind me of myself or family members who
mhm,
don't suffer from that and sort of like the things
mhm,
that I sense possible in their lives, like things that they've made happen that I have that like maybe people I love haven't been able to. And I do feel like on some level it comes back to bad self-esteem. And I'm like, why is that?
mhm.
Like, where does
yeah,
that sense of bad self-esteem come from? I feel like it's linked to all sorts of, uh, you know, sad outcomes, I guess. So I've been thinking a lot about
yeah,
that because it's really like that sense of worthiness and sense of, you know, uh, not feeling like a imposter and that kind of thing. I think is a very real
yeah.
truth in my life.
I
Yeah.
think that's a commonality a lot of people have.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
worthiness, while you were talking, I'm just thinking about the word worthiness has
mm-hmm,
so much baggage attached
yeah,
to it. It's like it's almost like worthiness, and maybe more so for women than men, I don't know, it just feels
yeah,
like a worthiness is like to feel worthiness you have to claim that you have worth, and somehow
right,
that's like being conceited or haughty or things
yes,
that you're not supposed to be. So
exactly, yeah,
it's but when you think of the word by itself, it's like worthiness. Well, of course you're worthy, everyone's
yeah,
worthy, but I think that it's easier to tell other people that than to
mm,
embrace being
yeah,
worthy, because then what does that mean? Are you snooty? Are you better? Is somebody else
yeah.
not worthy? So I think it's a kind of a tangled road that is attached to worthiness, which
And I
is
feel like, yeah,
worthiness is everybody's worthy.
yeah. I
But
think
I think there's
culturally it's like definitely a thing where you like
mhm,
if you think about, uh Angela mentioned Patrick County, Henry County. I feel like they're and there's something I love about the culture that people are not pretentious and they don't
yeah,
put themselves forward in a pushy way, but at the same time, uh finding that balance of, being humble but not self-destructive,
Yeah.
is
yes,
really important.
yes,
And
yeah,
I think it's ancestral as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I do believe that we carry, I don't think that it's everyone's. I don't think that everyone came into this world to carry their ancestors'
Mhm.
trauma. And I do think there's people who came in to carry it. There's people who came in to clear it.
Oh,
And
wow.
if you come after someone who's cleared it, then you got a pretty good deal. But if you're the person who's clearing it or a person who's carrying it, that can be pretty heavy. And it may be really hard to understand where some of those feelings are coming from because maybe you didn't even experience it in your life. Like maybe,
hmm,
like, I mean, if you think about it, like so when your mother was in your grandmother's
Mm,
womb, you were forming in your mother as well. And so,
hmm,
that's how connected we are. And
yeah.
we get one another's blood, like we get the waters of one
hmm,
another. And we are carrying that. And I do wonder how much of that I think about it and I think my maternal grandfather took his own life when my mother was 11. and his
Oh.
poverty and alcoholism and all of the self-worth. I mean, he really struggled to keep a job. He struggled to provide. And I understand it, but it had always felt so personal to me. And I thought, why am I carrying this?
Mm.
Like,
Mhm.
like I was there. My mother was 11, but just 5 years later, she gave birth to me. And so I was there. Like
Mm.
Yeah.
I, and if that makes any sense, and I can
Yeah.
feel all of that. And so I
Yeah.
think I think a lot of us are carrying those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would, and you can see it. You can
Yeah.
see it in
Yeah.
Henry County and Patrick County very clearly,
Yeah.
like just this
Yeah.
ancestral, and I think it's deep within us.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it
Yeah.
can very much be a cultural thing also,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
family and culture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
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 And then all of the other things that we hear. I mean, we just had three transgender graduates from, I think it was the Air Force Academy. They've done all the
Mhm.
work. They've
Oh.
they've made all the commitment, but due to the new regulations, they're not going to become commissioned, apparently. Apparently.
Mm.
Now,
Yeah.
how do you reckon with that? Like that's someone saying you're not worthy. You're not worthy of being commissioned.
Yeah.
That's
That's
not
that's a lot.
within, but it becomes within. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot to wrestle with. And so, yeah, I think it's huge, Annie, going
Yeah.
back to what you said.
Yeah. It's really heartbreaking to think of the trauma that we're inflicting on people in
Yeah.
this fashion. Like we were just making a modicum of progress, and now
Yes.
there's a segment of our population, the most vocal and powerful right now, that's just doubling down on
Hmm.
trying to be the arbiters of who has worth or not.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has a lot to consider.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Thank
does.
you, worthiness card.
It does.
Oh
Um,
my goodness.
okay. Oh, bio.
Yeah.
Tell us about
Let's
Annie.
introduce Annie to
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
I'm excited by your bio. Oh my goodness. Okay, y'all. So here's some great goodness on Annie. Annie Woodford is the author of Bootleg, published by Groundhog Poetry Press in 2019,
Mhm.
and Where You Come From Is Gone, which was published by Mercer UP in 2022. Also, she was the recipient of the 2022 Weatherford Award for Appalachian Poetry. Her micro-chapbook, When God Was a Child, was published by Bull City Press in 2023. And Annie has been the recipient of the Jean Ritchie Fellowship. And, y'all, her third poetry collection is being published this year by Pulley Press. I'm so excited.
Oh,
Yay, so happy to have Annie
Yeah.
here with
thank you
us.
so much, Karen.
Yay. I'm very much looking forward to this. And this is why I wanted Annie to be here. She is a fellow North Carolinian now for Karen. But she writes a lot about the places I know, the places and the people I know. And that honestly doesn't happen very often. I
Mm,
feel there's a lot of poetry that I enjoy, but I don't often feel very connected.
Yeah.
Which going back to that card does impact my sense of worthiness as a poet.
Yeah.
And when I picked up, I first saw some of your writing, and then I found
Mm,
Bootleg, and that's
mm.
how I became a fan. And not a stalker, but a fan. I did reach out a little bit though. And so,
I'm a
and,
total poetry stalker. That
I
is one
think I
thing
am
I do.
too.
um, and so that's why I wanted you here because I was like,
Mm,
I need to hear from you. I want to know you better. I want to,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. And so,
Thank you so much. No, connecting with you and like realizing that you're in Patrick County and you're doing all of these wonderful things, it's really meant a lot, honestly. Because, like you said, we don't really see too much representation of ourselves, from this area. So, yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of a poet named Michael Chitwood.
Mm-mm.
I think
Yes.
he lives in North Carolina now, but he is from Franklin County, Virginia, which I didn't know.
Ah,
He was really
Okay.
important for me to discover because I was like, oh my gosh, he's like from up the road. So yeah.
yeah.
And Claudia Emerson, have you read?
Oh yes,
Yeah. Now
yes,
her style is more elevated than mine.
that's true. Yeah,
And so but I still recognize she's
yeah,
from Chatham, and so
yeah. Right,
especially like some of her earlier
right.
works, I really see what I know. And
Mm.
Have you ever heard of Ellen Bryant Voigt? She also
yes.
is from Chatham,
Yeah.
and she's incredible. And when I like graduated from high school or college, I can't remember. My aunt who lives in Chatham gave me one of Ellen Bryant Voigt's books, and I didn't really get it at the time. It was one of her ones that was more elevated, but then I
Hmm.
got to hear her read in person, and she sounded like home so
Yes.
deeply.
Yeah.
She had taken it like she studied piano very seriously, and like the connection between the way she used her Pennsylvania county accent and
Hmm.
language and rhythms with this very kind of uh intentional like metered verse just blew my mind. I love her so much.
Yeah, I feel like you do like so I feel like I can hear your accent when I read your
Yeah.
work. And
Oh,
yeah, when you're talking
yeah.
because you'll do the landscape, you'll do pieces of the
Yeah.
landscape and I can just hear it and it
Yeah.
creates a lyricism that
Yeah.
goes even beyond the words.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
sound there. Um
Yeah.
so I wanted to ask you if do you feel like starting with a poem? Like, could you do that since we're talking about your
Sure.
poetry?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah. I would
people
love
should
to.
hear it.
Not,
Yeah.
yeah. Not to put you on the spot, but could
No,
you
no,
read a
no.
poem, please?
Yeah, no, that's actually my comfort zone.
Okay.
Um, so I grew up, and my mother called it North Bassett, but up above, well, up on off of Highway 57, probably about I would say 10 or 15 minutes from Ferrystone State Park. So
Oh,
we spent a lot of time going to Ferrystone, but we were really close to Bowens Creek, if you know where that is.
mhm.
But anyway, so this is about Highway 57 and that road. So, and a lot of my mother's people are from Patrick and Floyd. So it's called Legend of the Fairy Stone, Starlight. In Patrick County, the Churraw tended peach trees and tracked game through groves of giant chestnut trees. Wolves ran down deer, skeins of geese obscured the sun for days. Highway 57 runs along a solid wall of laurels. Dig behind the gas station advertising find your own fairy stones on a hand lettered sign, even uncut, unpolished. They are definite as teeth in the leaves. Look for the roadside spring spouting out of the bank, PVC pipe hidden by moss, spilling rain that has seeped through the mountain's mighty filter. My mother's brother died near here in the days before seatbelts and mad, his
Mm.
body thrown against a stone barn. Rocks are not tears. Christ never walked these hills, though it would help to think he did.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh,
I always think of, like you, Angela, you probably know the legend of the fairy stone and
Mhm.
about that, but it's a
I do
very
too.
geographically centric place. Like, a lot of people wouldn't even understand that poem at all. So I feel like I wrote it for like a
I
very small audience, and you're one of them. Also.
I love that poem. My family, I've been to that gas station and had like two handfuls full of fairy stones that we
Oh my
found that day. It
God.
was magic, magic.
Oh,
I was probably 9 or 10 years old. Absolute magic.
oh, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Okay, you said this. You said I feel like I wrote it for a very small
Yeah.
group. And what does that mean to, okay, because I feel like that can be a struggle. Like
Yeah.
when you're writing and you're wanting to get published and you're wanting
Yeah.
to share and connect and be
Yeah.
read, but maybe you don't know if people are going to get it, if people are going to,
Hmm.
do you know what I mean? And, well, of
Oh
course, you
yeah.
know what I mean.
Yeah.
How did you decide to write it anyway? Like, what is that
Yeah.
like?
Well, I think on one level, my impulse to do the art is very inward looking. And the act of doing it is really the high I'm looking for. I mean, I love
Mm,
to publish and I love to read things and I love, out in public or whatever, and I love connecting with people, but ultimately it kind of does feel like a very private thing. And it does kind of feel like something that uh, sustains me if, if you read it in Patrick County and get it, and maybe you're one of 10 people at most who do, then maybe that's okay. I mean, I don't know. I had that question like that from a friend who said, who are you writing this for? Like, only people who grew up in Collinsville are going to, understand this poem about the Ferrystone Motel. That's another Ferrystone
mm,
poem. That's
mm-hmm,
funny. I don't know if
Yeah.
you remember, but there used to be a Ferrystone Motel on the strip there in
mm-hmm.
Collinsville, and I'm like, well, I don't know. It's almost like it's interesting that we're doing this, tarot reading thing, because I mean it's almost like a personal spell. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
just the act of doing it that feels like, I don't know, maybe like regressing back to when I was a little kid playing in the woods and would make moss fairy huts or something, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like playing. It's like,
Yeah.
how little kids play, and it's like this deeply inward looking, just like murmuring to themselves while they, I
Hmm.
don't know, build little, you know, imaginary kingdoms. That's kind of what it feels like to me. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I haven't figured that out, but I've decided that questions of like, will the larger audience get this? I try to address it for clarity of the poem, but
Hmm.
I'm not, I don't think about it that much, honestly. It's
I
probably
think
why.
I
Yeah.
think that's part of the magic though. It's like you had your
Yeah.
way with the creating of it, and
Yeah.
then you're putting it out there, and then
Yeah.
everybody that comes to it's bringing their own story to it. So they're all nobody's going to see it exactly the way you saw it,
Yeah.
but that's the coolness of it, right? Like they can be
Yeah.
inspired, yeah, they can be changed by hearing about the fairy
Yeah.
stones.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
It's exciting. I think it's like it's creating and sharing your work like that is
Uh,
like the best. It's the best. It's such a gift to people because they
no.
bring themselves to it and they're
Yeah.
changed. And some they may not know how they were changed,
Yeah.
but you opened a window and they got to breathe that special
It
air.
blows my mind when anybody reads it, honestly.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's the bonus, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
and while it is my question, like while I have that question,
Yeah.
like how do you reckon with this? I also feel like most of us know a place that we think Christ has never walked. Like
Hmm.
most of us
Mm,
know a place of grief and loss, you know. Most of us know a place of magic, even if we haven't seen it and or felt it rather in
Yeah.
43 years or how, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, depending on
Right.
like and most of us know a place that is no more. Like
Yeah.
mhm.
it, do you, and so
Right. Yeah.
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 So I feel like for me, it may be when I get to read these poems, maybe they hit me in a different place, but I think they could hit for anyone. Even
Yeah.
like the Fairystone Motel, like how many like that how many like that's one of the things I
Mm,
love about poetry is that it memorializes
Yeah.
yeah.
these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And and I think Annie too, like I called Claudia's elevated and you used the word for Ellen Bryant Voigt's, but your work too,
Hmm.
it's I don't want to use the word polished because it still has
Yeah.
this rugged
Hmm.
sound to it. Like there's a ruggedness to the culture that is in the,
Mm,
and I mean like the landscape, the people,
yeah.
everything that's being
Yeah.
reflected in it. There's a ruggedness to it, but every word has been carefully considered.
It's
Yeah.
crafted.
It's
It's
very well crafted.
Yeah.
very well crafted. Yeah. It's made
Yeah.
into a beautiful thing.
And
Yeah.
and so I mean, is that a lot of revision? Is that studying with Catherine Hankla? Is that like what is it? Like, is it reading a lot? Like,
Yeah, I think it's all those things for sure. And yeah, I think, well, first of all, I would say uh, Ellen Bryant Voigt wrote a book called Syntax that is really wonderful. I
hmm
would just put that out there. I still don't understand it. I don't understand how she does what she does, but I love to read her work, especially she wrote a book called Headwaters that does all of these really interesting things with
hmm
syntax, where she's not using punctuation, but the units of syntax are very logical and easy to follow. One thing that kind of tripped me up with that poem, I didn't practice it, which I feel terrible about before I did this reading. My life has just been kind of crazy, but I was trying to do some of that there, but uh, also a lot of revision, a lot of reading aloud, a lot of, really just returning to the work. I do think that that's as in that's just a central part of everything, I do. But also trying to find that balance between the momentum of the initial drafting that often feels very inspired and um, kind of coming from a more visceral place and then
hmm
being able to have the perspective on it. I would say that when I was Catherine Hankla's student, I did not know at all how to revise, even though, like people were trying to teach me some of those skills. It really took, I would say, a good like 10 to 15 years of percolating before I even got to
Mm.
the point where I could revise my own work. So I graduated from my program like when I was 22 or 23. I would say I was 34 before I really started, 35, being able to be like, oh, this is how you revise something.
Ah,
Like
hmm
yeah.
a little bit. I'm still working out. But,
Can you articulate how you revise something? Like,
but
or a little?
yeah. Well, I feel like I always kind of had the rudiments of this system in my writing, but it became more intentional. So I write on legal pads. I keep like two legal pads going, and I like will write like an initial draft or whatever in one. Maybe it would be more like free writing and then more refined version in another. And I keep kind of going bouncing back and forth between the two in a
Oh,
handwritten
wow.
draft, reading it aloud, and
Mm.
then typing it up and then printing it out and moving it around. And I feel like that just that physical process is really important for me. I think I'm a very physical person in terms of how I actually understand how to do things, how to make things.
Mm.
But then the reading aloud part is really central. So I think that also is true. And then, you know, trying to think about the why of the form I'm choosing, which is something, I mean, I have not figured out, honestly, but I'm trying to understand that, like why am I choosing, this particular stanza form or, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So one thing that, Claudia Emerson and Ellen Bryant Voigt did so incredibly is really wrote in a more formal mode of,
hmm
you know, metered verse, which blows my mind and is not something that I, can, do very well, but I'm thinking about it. So,
Well, that's interesting because I was getting ready to say to you, I think one of the differences,
yeah,
like for me as a reader
yeah,
of your work
uh-huh,
and Claudia's work, like
yeah,
Pharaoh or one like so definitely the other
hmm,
earlier things. So I'm looking at places I know, I'm
yeah,
looking at people I know. But with your poetry, I don't feel like you're removed from those
mm,
people. Like
yeah,
Mm.
you are
Wow.
in the poem. Like you
mm,
are one of them. And like in Pharaoh, for instance, I
yeah,
feel like Claudia. is more of like a view from here.
Mm,
Like there's an
yeah,
Mhm.
observation happening, and that
yeah,
formality removes her
yeah.
from that. And which is not, neither one is good or bad. That's
Yeah.
not a, it's just a difference. And but I deeply appreciate that closeness that I feel
Yeah.
like you have in your work.
It's probably class too. I mean, I'm from a very different socioeconomic class than Claudia Emerson or Ellen Bryant Voigt.
Yeah.
Ellen Bryant Voigt. I'm from a much lower. I mean, my family history uh, is not this, of an upper socioeconomic class for this
Hmm.
area.
I
Whereas
yeah.
think
Yeah.
there's a, I mean, there is a, yeah,
I definitely think theirs was, and
yeah,
because I would, and maybe that's one of the things that I relate
mm,
to is that I was country, so
yeah,
I was raised in Java, which is
yeah.
outside of the town of Chatham, the Main Street
Uh,
group,
oh wow,
and
I didn't
so
know that. Oh my goodness.
and
Yeah.
then well, I went to Hargrave, and
Oh my
you
goodness.
have a poem that has a little thing about Chatham in there, and then I
Yeah,
moved
yeah.
to Patrick County,
Oh my goodness.
and so yeah, and
Oh, wow.
that
Yeah,
probably is some of that
yeah.
relation. Isn't that amazing how much you can see about a person and their
That is really,
poetry?
you've
Yeah.
really paid attention. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so my aunt who grew up in my mom's older sister, uh, you know, she grew up in Bassett with my mom, but they moved to Chatham, like I would say in the late 70s, early 80s, and he was the eye doctor in town. Um,
Oh.
so and so I would spend a lot of time with them in the summer and stuff. They lived in Tight Squeeze.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know there was a Java, Java. Is that
Mm-hmm.
how you say it?
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't
Yeah.
even. They have all these funny place names in Pennsylvania County. But
Climax, tight squeeze, like
Yeah.
yeah,
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 yeah.
that's
Um,
wonderful. Yeah, I love that landscape. I feel like it really seeped into my consciousness, even though it's like very distinct from Henry County or Patrick County. Like Pennsylvania County has its own like color palette and
Mm.
look to the way the land lays. It's really, really beautiful.
it's so funny because I'll say this really quickly because I know it's in the point of the show. But I was raised in Java, but my aunt lived in Martinsville. And so
Okay, yeah,
I spent so much of my summer going to
yeah.
Martinsville and
Oh
running
wow,
around Collinsville and Bassett and doing all that with
really?
my cousins. And so
Uh-huh.
that was the other reason, like I'm reading
Yeah.
this and I'm like,
Oh my
this
goodness.
is, yeah. So, we just missed each other just barely.
Here's to
Yeah.
cousins and going and
Yeah,
staying at your cousin's house in the summer.
I
That's the best. Right?
know.
Oh,
Um, so okay, I have a question for you.
yeah.
Now you're a teacher,
Hmm.
okay?
I
And
am. I teach community college.
yeah, and so you're teaching, you're parenting, and you're trying to write, or you're writing.
Hmm.
What is that like to balance all of those, or to have an energy left over to
Yeah.
create, or is that where you get your like energy? Like, what is that
Yeah.
like?
Yeah, I think for a long time it really was like I really did get my energy from like something about the process of having a child and then getting a full-time
Mm.
teaching job that gave me a measure of economic stability that I hadn't had before. And I think that really was the engine. Uh, and like I noticed, like just becoming like my daughter made me way more like physical because she was so physical that we were constantly like moving. I feel like
Mm.
that was kind of part of it. Uh, and that was an engine for a long time, but that's not really my engine now. My daughter's graduating tomorrow from high school, so
Oh.
I know,
Yay!
right? And so she's definitely been like, or just that knowing her or being in her like presence has definitely, I think, been so, I don't know, just inspiring and beautiful. Even if I wasn't directly writing about her, I feel like she was putting me in a place of
Mm.
just being open and receptive to the world in really beautiful ways. Um, I really struggled to maintain. Like as I've gotten older and like post COVID, and I like moved from Virginia because I lost my job at the community college. They like laid off three of us all at the same
Mhm.
time in the English department. So I like was on this hamster wheel of trying to find a job. I found a job. I moved for the job, you know. COVID happened and then just life in terms of maybe, trying to just be, someone at my stage of life. It's been a struggle. What's kept me tethered is community. I mean, it's all,
Mm,
I mean, it makes me want to cry, but like whenever I feel like, oh God, am I even like, what am I even like connected to poetry or art or thinking about those things anymore? And then somebody like you will reach out and be like, hey, let's do this
mm,
thing. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's like you. Yeah, I feel like people have saved me with stuff like this so
mm.
many times in the last few years.
Mm.
Like just the community that somehow, I, by the grace of God, I've somehow found a measure of. So, yeah.
Because you created, because you shared your
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah.
It feels miraculous, honestly, that
Well, I think
I
it
meet anybody that's like, doing this kind of thing. So,
yeah, I think it comes around because what you're creating is changing people's lives, right? I mean, I think that's a
uh,
big magic with poetry is
yeah,
like you read the poem and you are
yeah,
changed.
Yeah.
yeah,
And you're connected. I mean, I always feel
yeah,
so much connection by
yeah,
being able to see into the life or the thoughts or the
yeah,
feelings of another person the way that you
yeah,
can see with poetry. I think it's really
yeah,
special and
Hmm.
it does make it's comforting. Even if you're
yeah,
reading a sad poem or it's just
yeah.
that there is humanness out
That's
there,
true.
right? And
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
thank you for doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you for
It's
making
always
space
very
for
important.
this.
Do you want to read another poem for us?
Yes, I'd love
Okay.
to. Let's see. Trying to think of one that would be. Um,
And Annie, I do want to hear about your upcoming collection too
oh
before we
yeah,
go. Don't, yes, please don't. I'm speaking that
absolutely.
aloud so because I want to know, I want to hear about it.
This is since we're sort of in the in this geography of Southern Virginia, North Carolina, this is a Philpott Lake poem.
Mm.
Again, very
Yeah.
uh which Ferrystone is a little lake off of Philpott Lake, I guess is how
Hmm.
you'd maybe say it. But anyway, so this is about going swimming in Philpott Lake. Contemplating the female in a country dangerous for women. July is an earth sign of stars, a bonfire burning in a field. July is pheromone and hay, a heifer and her calf dappled by laurel shade she watches from unseen. July is a quartet of girls just out of childhood and born poor. Say one was born on the seventh day of the seventh month in the seventh year of a new century, and today she eats cake by a man made lake and then somersaults slowly in water warmed by warm Virginia hills, her friends flowing around her. They lift their dripping feet and study their souls stained orange by mud and dive out instead of down, just in case the water level has changed. July is Ferris in full dam. It's a deaf old dog sleeping in the road at dusk, asphalt heat sweet on her bones. It's ditch lilies licking flame by the road bank, and the way I'll get lost on the way home tonight. Prophets of apocalypse selling gold on the radio. The fields are in flower. All the spring babies have grown. And where are you, my Lord, who used to walk barefoot over the earth, calling all the lambs out of slaughter?
Mm.
Wow.
So
Oh,
that one is actually about like after I moved to North Carolina and I still didn't know how to get home. And I was like one evening I left really late from Virginia and was trying to drive back to Watauga County and got lost. on my way home. But yeah,
I love the ditch lilies. See
I
the
Yes.
know,
Oh,
right? They're in bloom right
so,
now, right?
oh my goodness. So many images there. Oh,
Well, thank you so
love
much for letting me read that. I realize both
yeah.
of them are kind of like, where are you, Jesus?
it.
Where are you, Jesus? Like, seriously. I mean, you don't have to come back right now, but if you could come, like,
Yeah.
deal with some of
I
these
know, right?
assholes.
Yeah.
Don't
And
come
next
all
time,
the
come
way
back.
back, but can you
But
just
just, yeah.
Yeah,
Throw us a bone here.
right.
Oh, that's funny. Growing up in a place where people are always like, I can't wait for Jesus to come back, and I'm the only one in the congregation going, No, I'm not ready.
No,
No,
that's, yeah.
no.
Where's the right place for love? I don't know. It's like
Yes.
to get better. Let's just hang out here for a while.
I know, I know.
I love that poem Birches by Robert Frost. I always teach it because he's like, I'd like to climb toward heaven, but not go all the way there and then like go back down to earth and do that
Mhm.
over and over again.
Oh, tell us about your new collection coming out with
Oh
Pulley
yeah.
Press in
Yeah,
September.
Pulley Press is a wonderful press that focuses on rural voices. And they are going to publish my third full collection. It comes out in September and it's called Peasant.
Oh,
And
Mm.
yeah, so it's funny, I landed on that title because I feel like I am a peasant. And it's very interesting to think about what it means to be a peasant and high art, low art, and being, part of or not part of uh, intelligentsia or tastemakers or, you know, uh, elite systems of education. I feel like on some level I tap into that because I'm such a reader and I am able to be part of that. But on another level, I mean, just geographically where we are,
Hmm.
we're quite isolated and not really known about. It was kind of like an assertion of that peasant identity and what that means. So anyway, I think it's interesting because recently there's been all this talk about neo feudalism, on the part of these like
Hmm.
tech bros who think that they're so much smarter than all of us. But
yeah.
what I always think about, like I love reading the Russians, and one thing you notice when you read the Russians is that the peasants always are functioning on a level that the aristocracy can't quite fully comprehend. Like if you
Mhm.
read Tolstoy or you read Turgenev, that one thing those writers examine are those like levels of information and knowledge and self-awareness, like on the part of the aristocracy trying to understand the peasants or interact with the peasants, and then this kind of like this world of knowledge that the peasants don't fully reveal to anyone but each other. So
Mm,
I don't have
Hmm.
that fully articulated in my mind yet, but I've been fascinated by that. So
yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
So that makes me so everybody, Pulley Press, Peasant,
Yeah.
September this
Yeah.
year. Be
Yes.
Oh,
ready.
yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Thank
I
you
got
so
everything right?
much. That is right. And one more thing, I just thought I would say, I don't know, this may not be out in time for this, but maybe next year it could be on people's radars. There's a beautiful little festival that happens in Rockingham County called the Charlie Poole Festival.
Hmm.
It's not very expensive and it has incredibly curated music by people who are really deeply passionate about, regional music and the history of music and the kind of folk music and
Oh.
string music slash bluegrass music that really percolated up from, the poor people
Hmm.
in this area. So I would highly recommend it. It happens in Rockingham County at the beginning of June, and it's called the Charlie Poole Festival. So
Thank you. Now,
just thought I would say that.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
did. I felt like that might come up because I've noticed
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah,
important
I'm
thing
part
to
of
you.
it. I've been
Yeah.
asked to read because my first book really uses Charlie Poole, who was
Hmm.
he was an old time musician, but he also was sort of a bridge to bluegrass. He on his death certificate it said he died a mill hand, but
Hmm.
Um, he really innovated modern music and country music and bluegrass. So it's a really beautiful little festival.
Yeah. No, we
I
really
wrote it
should.
down.
We really should go. However, I do feel like I have to ask you one more question.
Uh-huh.
Now, you went to Hollins. Did you major in creative writing? Or
Yeah, so well,
okay,
so I went to community college for 2 years
okay.
and didn't really know what I was going to do, but I always loved the writing aspect of Hollins. And I had this incredible high school teacher who was getting her master's at Hollins while I was her student, and she would like share with me like things she was reading.
Hmm.
Oh,
And I didn't even really understand exactly the writing thing at Hollins until I was there. And then I was like, oh my gosh, these are some of the writers that my teacher in high school literally shared with me. So, so I did end up like I knew I wanted to take creative writing classes and everything there. So, I did end up majoring. I was a let's see, my creative writing undergrad. I guess I did English as an undergrad, and then I got my master's there in creative writing, and specifically
Okay.
studied poetry with people like Catherine Hankela and Richard Dillard,
Yeah.
probably most
mm,
importantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
kind of answered my question because that
Yeah.
was, I mean, my question was kind of like, in case you want to say anything else about it, was
Yeah.
coming from a background where you would consider yourself a peasant, there's not
Yeah.
a lot of creative, like you're not
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
you're not trained to think I'm
Yeah.
going to go get my master's in creative writing. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
even fit
Yeah.
in to
Yeah.
it doesn't it wouldn't even make sense because
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so I wondered what support you had for that and what, but
Yeah.
you must have had a very supportive teacher at
I had very
least.
supportive. Yeah, I mean, I had an incredible teacher when I was in high school. And then my teachers, I was really lucky at the community college. I had I actually, do you ever hear of Tex Wood?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so he was from North Carolina. I think he was connected somehow with maybe Chapel Hill or UNCG. I can't
okay.
remember exactly. But anyway, he published a book, which you probably can't find anymore, called Likeable Sins. He was an incredible poet, and he was teaching at Patrick Henry Community College he was my first college English teacher. I remember he came in and he recited E. E. Cummings. My father moves through dooms of love. But anyway, he was a published poet. Very weird, and was my first college English teacher. And I just thought he hung the moon. I thought he was so cool. But
Mm,
anyway, he ended up living in Patrick County and like raising or trying to cultivate heirloom apples like in his retirement. Anyway, I just thought that's
Wow.
another Patrick
that's
County
cool.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
That's so
had,
cool.
my mother is a nurse and did everything. She was, she just supported whatever I wanted to do. My dad was a plumber and they let me do what I wanted to do. They didn't even
Mm,
critique me. They didn't even like
yeah,
criticize any of the choices I was making. Like it's kind of incredible. I'm like, thank you
Yes.
for like
yeah,
being that way. And then, worked and, all kinds of shitty hours and everything to like fund me, you know, like
Wow.
really incredible freedom there from my parents.
yeah.
And I don't know exactly where that comes from, but not control or anything, but just absolute support. And always in my household, like from my mother and her sisters, and, just this love of art and words and
Mm,
anything beautiful. It's just, even though, there wasn't a lot of, traditional, like educational, like, a lot of college level education necessarily.
mhm,
There was a lot of reverence
yeah.
for art. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really wild. I did have one of my aunts has a master's degree from Radford and was an artist and taught art in Henry County Public Schools. And, so we had
Oh,
that. But then all the other sisters who didn't do that, they just were very, very into creativity. I don't know.
yeah.
It's really,
That's
I'm
wonderful.
lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 That's great.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know who my first creative writing teacher was at community college? Claudia Emerson.
So, oh my
Claudia. Yep.
gosh. Where
Danville
was she
Community
teaching?
College. I went to
Oh
DCC.
my gosh. I
Yep.
didn't know that.
Yep. I know.
Wow.
I still to this day I'm like I don't even know that I knew what I was getting when I was getting it and like
Was it a
yeah.
creative writing class
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or an English
it was
class?
poetry. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you remember from that class? Like, what was something that really
Oh, well,
is,
uh, I'll just tell you the truth. I was stoned and drunk most of the time during that part of my life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I went into class one day and I read my poem,
Yeah.
and she said, Angela, you have a lot of talent and the work you do is good, but you are so high. I am marking you absent. Stop doing drugs.
Wow.
And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
and she said it in front of everyone. Like it wasn't,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I of course, I mean, when you're high, you have no idea everyone knows you're high.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right. You're
like
just
you're
having a good
high.
time.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and I was like, and it was a turning point for me.
That's right.
And yeah, it was I won't say that I sobered up immediately, but I mean, I've been
Yeah.
sober a long, long time now,
Yeah.
but I will definitely say that it made me start thinking
Oh,
and that
Wow.
you know, when I've had times, actually, I never feel like I belong in poetry,
mm,
like, which is okay
yeah.
with me.
Mhm.
Like, it's kind of it's actually okay with me now
Yeah.
because I'm like, I don't really need to belong.
Yeah.
Like, I just need to do my thing. And
Yeah.
where
It's
it's received,
yeah.
and where it's
Yeah.
not, it's not. And I'm very much okay with that now. But I just remember I was fucked up beyond belief.
Yeah.
And I had enough talent, enough of a gift that Claudia Emerson saw it and spoke to it.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I'm like, let me hold that. Let me keep going. Let me keep creating.
Yeah.
I think
So,
that's beautiful. I mean, I mean, I feel like these really powerful teachers, they're able to give you the thing that you need in that moment, and what you needed in that moment is recognition of
mhm.
what was still there, or what was
Yeah.
there through
Well,
all that haze of what you were doing, you
did we
know?
just have a full circle? Because oh my God, this is what we started with.
Yeah.
My problem was, I mean, I had no sense of
Yeah.
self-worth. Like I felt
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I
we're back on worthiness, right?
And
Right.
this is what you were saying, Annie, about the
Yeah.
Yeah.
self-destructive
Yeah.
behavior. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I had been through so much trauma that it made me feel like
Yeah.
I didn't want to
Yeah.
feel. It made me feel like I
Yeah.
didn't want to feel. I didn't want to feel anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. And yeah.
Too, I just have to say this. Sometimes it's really important to have somebody call bullshit on you.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like that's what she
Yeah.
did for you. I
Hmm.
had a
Yeah.
junior high school creative writing teacher called it on me, and it changed my
Well,
life. I was like,
Hmm.
oh wow.
Oh, you've told me this
Yeah,
story.
yeah, Carl Hardy. It was great because I wrote poetry from the time I was like 5 years old,
mhm.
and it's always been my passion. And I took a creative writing class in ninth grade. Carl Hardy, coolest hippie teacher you could ever want to have. And I didn't. I wrote a poem on the bus. We had to turn in a poem every Monday, and
Yeah.
I wrote mine on the bus on the way to school that morning because I was just busy being an idiot. And he gave me a B on it. And I was so mad because I never got B's. So I stayed after class and I was like, what the hell, Mr. Hardy? And he's like, I said, this is not a bad poem. And he's like, it isn't. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's a what's up? And he was like, it's not as good as you could do.
No.
And I was like,
Yeah.
well, that's true.
Hmm.
Yeah. It changed me. I mean, it made such a
Yeah.
big difference. I'm like, okay,
No.
don't be an idiot. Like, just yeah, I mean, you can do okay,
Yeah.
you can be half-assed, or you can actually put your all into it and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I appreciated that. I mean, it hit me. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I was kind of being a poser. I was just like, yeah, I
Well,
can like put little effort in and do
yeah.
okay. That's not who I wanted to be, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. What a gift to realize that and not half-ass it for so long that you
Well, yeah, and have
lose
somebody tell
something.
you, just
Yeah.
somebody see you and go,
Yeah.
no, nope,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
Um,
Oh.
okay. Well, we probably better stop. I will
Uh,
give a prompt. I will give a
oh,
prompt.
yes,
Um,
yes.
okay. So throughout this was what I was thinking about. Um, find something, a place in your memory, like because maybe you're not still where you're from or near where you're from, but go back to a place in your memory that maybe isn't there anymore. Maybe it's not
Mm,
open anymore. Maybe it's not, April Asbury has a poem about
mm,
red CVS's, all the
mm,
CVS's. I don't know if
mm.
it's so good.
Uh,
And it just popped into my head. I can't remember the title of it. Sorry, April, but y'all should find it. And it's a great example of what I'm getting at. And this is the Fairy Stone Motel. This is the sign behind the building. This is so find a place that maybe is no more,
mm,
and maybe it never was. Maybe from the time you were little, it was only the sign kind of ditched
mm,
behind the building. Maybe it was always closed. And that's where we'll create from and find in it its worthiness
mm,
to be remembered. Like, where is that in it? Like when it
Mm.
had its lights on, who was it serving?
mm,
Who was going there? What were they finding there? Were they finding connection? Were they finding camaraderie? Were they going there after a long shift? Were they going there
mm,
after church? Were they going there instead of church? Were they, who was going? What were they doing? What were the smells? Was there
mm,
food there? Is this a
Mm.
place where there's food? What did they touch? What did the textures feel like? What floor were they walking on? Was there a grain of the floor? Was it dirt floor? Was it concrete floor? What does that feel like? What did it feel like in the different seasons? Like, and write that place
mm,
and back right into the worthiness of that place. It can be
Mm.
anything. And there's a place like that in all of our memories and all
mm.
of our hearts. So, yeah, that's your prompt for today.
I love
Um,
it. So pretty.
so, thank you so much for being with us, Annie. We
Oh,
really,
Oh,
really enjoyed you.
thank you so much for inviting me to be
that's
part of
so
this. It's been
wonderful.
so much fun and really beautiful and inspiring. And um,
I'm so
thank you.
looking forward to Peasant coming out in
Oh,
September.
I know,
thank you.
I know,
Thank
I
you so
Yeah,
know.
much.
yeah.
And yeah, it's so nice to like meet you, not really meet you, but meet you at least this way. I feel like I really did meet you.
Yeah, me
And,
too.
Yep,
yeah.
Um,
yep.
okay, so be sure you like and comment and subscribe and share and do all of those things.
Do the things.
You know all the things to do. So, and thank y'all for being with us today with great goodness.